We were taught not to look at them. That was the first rule. When the soldiers marched into town, boots striking the cobblestones in sharp rhythm, mothers pulled their children indoors. Curtains shifted slightly, but windows remained mostly closed. They did not shout when they arrived. They did not need to. Their presence alone changed the air. Uniforms have a way of doing that. They carry authority even when the men inside them look tired. For months we measured our days by their patrol routes. Morning pass, afternoon check, evening silence. We learned to step aside before being told, to lower our eyes, to speak only when necessary. And then there was the soldier who did not behave the way we expected. I first noticed him near the well at the edge of the square. An old woman had dropped her basket. Apples rolled across the stones. No one moved at first, not because we lacked kindness, but because he was standing closest. He bent down, picked up an apple, placed it gently back into the basket. He did not bark orders. He did not demand thanks. He simply nodded once and stepped back. It unsettled everyone more than cruelty would have. Kindness from someone in that uniform felt misplaced. Suspicious, as if it were a trick. Children whispered about him. The quiet one, they called him. He was younger than the others. His uniform hung loosely, as though it had been tailored for someone broader. His boots were worn at the heel. He carried his rifle correctly, but without flourish. One afternoon, I was walking home with a small wooden toy tucked under my arm. It had belonged to my cousin before he left the city. A carved horse with uneven legs. The straight was nearly empty. I turned the corner and nearly collided with him. My heart leapt painfully into my throat. I remembered the rule. Do not look, but I had already looked. His eyes were not hard. They were tired. He noticed the toy. He glanced at it, then at me. I froze. Instead of stepping closer, he crouched slightly, lowering himself to my height. "What is its name?" he asked in careful, accented words. I did not answer. He waited. The silence stretched. "I had one like that," he said after a moment. "When I was small." His voice did not carry threat, only memory. Against my better judgment, I whispered, "It doesn't have a name." He smiled faintly. "Then it is waiting for one." Footsteps echoed at the far end of the street. Another soldier. The quiet one straightened immediately. His expression changed, not into cruelty, but into something guarded. The other soldier glanced at me dismissively and kept walking. When we were alone again, the quiet one spoke softly. "You should go home." I did. For days after, I avoided that street. But the town is small. Avoidance has limits. I saw him again near the bakery. He stood in line like everyone else. He did not demand priority. When his turn came, he handed over ration tickets like the rest of us. Mr. Hallberg, the baker, hesitated only briefly before serving him. Bread does not ask questions. That winter was severe. Snow gathered along the edges of rooftops like heavy blankets. One evening, as I carried water from the pump, I slipped. The bucket overturned. Water disappeared into the snow instantly. Before I could stand, someone lifted the handle. He had been passing by. Without speaking, he refilled the bucket, carried it to my doorstep, set it down. "Careful," he said simply. My mother had watched from the window. When I entered the house, she did not scold me. She did not thank him either. Instead, she said something I did not fully understand then. War makes strangers of everyone, even those who don't wish to be. Rumors began circulating about him, that he avoided certain patrols, that he volunteered for supply runs instead of enforcement duties, that he had once been reprimanded for hesitating during a house search. No one confirmed anything. Speculation was safer than knowledge. One afternoon, sirens sounded unexpectedly. Not air raid sirens. Inspection sirens. Soldiers moved door to door, searching for hidden radios. Tension tightened across the street like wire. When they reached our house, it was him who stepped inside. Another soldier followed behind. Drawers were opened. Closets inspected. The second soldier began moving toward the loose floorboard in the corner of the sitting room. My pulse pounded in my ears. We had nothing illegal hidden there. Only old letters. But fear does not require guilt. The quiet soldier stepped between us and the corner. He cleared his throat lightly. "Nothing here," he said to his companion. The other man looked unconvinced. But after a moment, he shrugged. They left. The door closed. Only then did I notice that the quiet soldier's hands had been trembling slightly. Spring arrived slowly. Occupation felt permanent. Routine numbed some of the sharper edges. Until the day orders changed. Troop rotations were announced. Units reassigned. The quiet soldier's presence became less frequent. When I saw him again, he stood near the edge of town, where the road curved toward the hills. He did not approach me this time. I approached him. Carefully. "You're leaving," I said. He nodded. "For a while." "For the front?" I asked. He did not answer directly. Instead, he looked at the carved horse in my hand. "You named it?" he asked. "Yes. What is it?" "Hope," I said before I could reconsider. His lips curved slightly. "That is a heavy name." Silence settled between us. Then he reached into his coat pocket and removed something small. A wooden butt, worn smooth. "It fell from my coat when I was your age," he said. "My mother kept it. She said it reminded her that even uniforms are sewn by hands." He pressed it into my palm. Footsteps approached from the road. Other soldiers calling. He stepped back. "You should remember something," he said quietly. "Uniforms are not the same as men." And then he turned, joined the line, marched away. We heard later that heavy fighting had broken out weeks after his unit moved east. Casualty lists were posted publicly. His name might have been among them. Or perhaps it was not. Records blur in war. Years passed. Occupation ended. Flags changed. Buildings were repaired. Stories were told. Some of cruelty, some of loss, rarely of kindness. Because kindness complicates memory. It interrupts the clean lines of enemy and ally. Yet I still have the wooden button, smooth from decades of being held. And sometimes I think about the soldier who spoke kindly. Not because he changed the course of history, not because he erased the damage done by others, but because in a time defined by uniformity and obedience, he chose restraint. He chose small mercies. He chose in quiet moments to remain human. War demands sides, but humanity resists neat categories. And sometimes the bravest act is not defiance in battle. It is gentleness when no one expects it.